That would be awesome. Hello. Hi, Kristen. Okay. Hello, Zlika. Zlika. Okay, perfect. You guys can see and hear me. That's awesome. Sorry, I was having some technical difficulties. We've changed our setup in our room here, and it was a little hard to get connected. So I'm glad that everything is good. Everyone can hear me. Perfect. Thank you. Well, I awesome. Okay. Oh, no camera. Hi, Sophie. If you have no camera, is it just it's not showing for you? Check your settings. Check your settings to see if you can click so you can see me. Because if you can't see me, it's probably something in your camera settings. Otherwise, you can refresh your page or exit and come in. Oh, you see me. Okay, it's good. That's good. Yeah, it's a webinar type, so it's not like a Zoom. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Glad to have you, Sophie. Okay, awesome. Glad to have everybody. So we can begin because we're a little bit delayed because of the technical difficulties. So I'm just going to do a brief introduction for any of you guys that might not know who I am. So my name is Chrissy, and as an infection control specialist, I help out with these webinars and some trainings with schools and so forth. So it's nice to see you too. Okay, so I do a lot of these educational for infection control, and I also at trade shows too. I'm able to incorporate infection control even when I'm teaching about Refectisol, so about lash and brow services. So this is a passion of mine as well, understanding this for our industry because it's very, very important infection control and how we can have the best practices in our industry because here we are very close up in front to our customers, very touch and feel. Products that we use that can be, not products, tools that we can use that can be invasive or can cut somebody. You can draw some blood, you can have some mucous membrane. So it's very important to know what we're doing right in the salon, what we were doing wrong, what can we correct. And that's the reason why we are doing this webinar because there came to the news about a salon that had been compromised with some infection because of poor practices. So we're going to go through this webinar and do some slides and look at what the salon did, how it can be corrected, and we'll follow some steps. At the end of the webinar, you'll also get some uh, a thank you email with some files for yourself as well that you can utilize in your salon and spot to help you. Okay, so let's get started with that. So it's called Be in the Know with Infection Prevention. And you can see, let me just do the PowerPoint. And you can let me know if you see the PowerPoint as well. Oops. Infection control. Okay. There we go. You guys can see the PowerPoint okay? Let me know if the PowerPoint is showing. Perfect. Thank you. Okay. So let's talk and see. So the topic is, in the know infection prevention lapse. So we are going to see what had happened, as I mentioned before, what was a lapse and what we can do to correct that. And you'll be able to be prepared as well. Like maybe, oh shoot, I should go back and check to see our protocols, check to see is this what we're doing, and have that refreshed look again to see if the protocols are being performed well. Okay, so in the news, what we saw, it was a salon, and specifically in Windsor, they had found themselves in the news when they were reported to their county health unit for breaches in infection prevention and control practices. So once it reaches the news, it's a little hard because your name gets put out there. So it could have been that they had several infractions, and that's why it made it to the news. So, and it could have been not once but maybe twice that they were given a warning like a yellow, and they didn't correct that, and then they were given a red uh statement, and that means they had to either shut down or they had a certain period of time to correct this. But with the light of social media and everything, it's really hard to keep something like this serious out of the eye of the media, because also it lets customers be informed if they were in the salon and this outbreak happened, how they're going to protect themselves as well, right? So it does not help the salon, but it also helps to keep things structured and back to bring it back to what it should be. Okay. So in this webinar, we want to bring to your attention what the salon did wrong and how it must be corrected, because we always need to remember that infection prevention starts with you, the owner. Whether you are in a salon, you're the owner of your salon, your spa, or privately you are doing mobilely or so forth, it starts with you and how you're going to implement it to the rest of your staff, if you have any, or if you're working for yourself, to keep yourself in line. Okay. Now, what we say here, obviously, if some of you throughout Canada are from different provinces, the best thing to do is check your provincial and your health guidelines, right? We're here to give you what the standard is, but you always have to check with your provincial and your local health authorities to see what they're saying for the type of services you offer, the type of product that you use, and so forth. Okay. So, what is the fix for best practices in infection prevention? Specifically, what happened with the salon? And you can see now how it can help you within your place of business. So, very important, tool disinfection and sterilization. Reusable tools. A lot of our tools in the aesthetic industry, whether we're doing pedicures, manicures, and facials, a lot of these tools, if they're stainless steel or hard plastic, they do become reusable. Stuff that are porous, we know are not reusable. So the ones that are reusable, we have to make sure that the proper cleaning first and then disinfection. Remember, it's a two-step process. In order for a tool, your tools to be disinfected or sterilized, they have to go through a cleaning process first, and they have to be rinsed and dried properly. So all that debris that was on there is taken away, and then that tool is going in the solution dry without any water, because that inactivates the solution. When the solution gets inactivated, especially when it is a 14-day reusable like our CS20 and our HLD5, when you're inactivating that, you're wasting product, first of all. Second of all, if you're not switching that solution up before the 14 days, you are using solution that has lessened its efficacy, and you are not able to kill what that solution says, whether it's bactericide, whether it's fungicide, whether it's TB, or you're not able to do that. So you're putting your clients and yourself at risk. Okay, so as we mentioned in this little slide, reusable tool disinfection should take place after each and every client service to prevent the spread of germs and infection. A nice thing is, if you are a high turn, like if you have a lot of customers coming in and you don't have time to disinfect that first set of tools, you should have a second set of tools. So as those other tools are being in the CS20, say for 20 minutes, or in 5 minutes with the HLD5 for the contact time, you still have a second set of tools that you can get your customers started. So you also have to, when you are implementing your schedule for your clients, you should allow that time frame to clean and disinfect or sterilize your surfaces and your tools. Okay, so it's very, very important that you fit that in your schedule. Otherwise, you're going to be like, oh, I don't have any time, and then you're probably just, you're not going to be following the proper steps, and that's where the issue can happen, and you can infect your clients or have an outbreak or so forth. So we know that sterilization is very disinfection is very important. So the two products that we have, if you are well aware of Preempt, we have HLD5, which is by the name, it's high level disinfectant. So HLD, high level disinfectant. The 5 means that the contact time is 5 minutes. Those tools must be fully immersed in that solution for 5 minutes. Now, there's no need to leave it longer, and there's no need to remove it earlier. If you remove it earlier, you're not achieving the full disinfection. There's a reason why it says that it needs to be 5 minutes. If you leave it longer, and especially when you're in our CS20 as well, you have people complain, oh, well, my tools got compromised. Well, there's 3 reasons why your tools can get compromised, because any solution out there, if it's a disinfectant and it sterilizes as well, down the road, you're going to have some wear and tear. It's the disinfectant, what it's supposed to be doing. So, three reasons if your tools are being compromised either by rusting is first of all, you're putting your tools in wet. After you've done your cleaning process and you've rinsed and dried, you have to dry. Then you can only put it into the solution. The water will work with, if there's water on the tools, it will work against with the disinfectant and it can create the rusting. A second reason is the type of tools you've purchased. Are they a higher grade metal grade, right? There's different grades of your stainless steel. So did you choose a good, like I have my tools still from school and they work very well and they haven't been rusted because of how I follow the proper steps um, of my disinfectant that I'm using. So, and then the third reason is leaving it longer. The longer you leave it into the solution, especially when it's a sterilant, it's going to be sitting there on the tool. So there's no need people leave it overnight. You will be damaging your tools. Okay. So high level disinfectant, we know it's 5 minutes contact time. It high level disinfects your semi-critical tools, right? Because our aesthetic tools, most of them are semi-critical, unless when you start dealing with microblading, but the blades and stuff get tossed in a Sharpie container, in a sharp, sorry, container, and then your handheld parts get disinfected, okay? And then you have your CS20. So our CS20, the name means chemosterilant. So it's a cold soak chemosterilant. It's not like an autoclave, but it's able to sterilize. A thing that we suggest as best practices is once you remove your tools from the CS20 and you rinse them, you have to rinse your tools even from the HLD5. After you've rinsed them and you dry them, put them in steri pouches because that can still keep it. Because once it's exposed into the air, as you remove it uh, from the solution, it's no longer sterile. So if you put it right away into a steri pouch, you won't allow any cross contamination. You can still keep it at its high level disinfectant, right? So just and then store it in a container that it is clean and disinfected as well. Okay. So that's with our CS20. So that's the difference. People ask me, well, then what's the difference? Like, what should I be using? Estheticians, there we go, Zalika. So estheticians, they do like to go above the bar. Oh, that's okay. Don't be sorry. It's a good question. They like to go above the bar, and they want to use something that if they draw blood, they're able to disinfect or sterilize. Because once, so the HLD5, myself personally, I like to carry both. If I know that I'm going to be busy one day and I really need to get my tools disinfected faster, I will use a CS20. But as soon as I do something, maybe I nip something, I nip somebody, I cut them, with the nippers or a drill bit or something, I know right away that whatever I use in that service has to be sterilized because I drew blood or I drew some mucous membrane or so forth, like I punctured the skin. So you need to sterilize. There's no uh like what's the word called, it's a must, you have to sterilize. Okay, so that's why if I knew my tools were fine, I didn't do anything, I didn't puncture the skin, I can use HLD5 and I'm done in 5 minutes. Now it's up to you if you want to be carrying both, but otherwise a CS20 is the go-to. Okay, so hopefully that, Zulika, that helped your question. The CS20 as well. Yes, we use just CS20. Oh, sorry, your question. Thank you. Thank you. With what you just said to wipe to keep the material sterile. Okay, I'm going to answer that. Yes, we use just CS20. That is why was my question. Okay, yeah, you're fine, Zulika, with the CS20. And like I said, if you're fitting your time properly from your next client to your next client to allow that sterilization of 20 minutes, and you have no problem of reusing those tools. But if you need a faster disinfectant, the HLD5 is always there to help you, right? So that's what it is. Okay, with what do you suggest to wipe and keep the material sterile? So Sophie, that would be a brand new paper towel. I do not like using um, rags, especially if that rag was sitting out there and used to clean the surface and so forth. It gets used a lot, the rag. And even when you clean it and you wash it, um, I feel like the safest best is to use a brand new paper towel and then discard. Okay. If you have a brand new rag that hasn't been touched, it's been cleaned, then you can use that as well. Okay. Hopefully that helped Sophie for you as well. Okay. Okay. So let's move on to the next thing is surface disinfection and foot baths. This is something that they were probably most likely doing incorrect. So your surface disinfection has to be done as well after each and every customer, right? After they're done, you clean it. Was it a bed that you use? Was it a manicure table? And you have to clean it and disinfect it. That's why our RTU is both a cleaner and a disinfectant. So you're going to wipe, remove if it's a heavy soil load on your surface, clean that first with a paper towel and then spray. Because if the soil load is very thick, like from a lot of nail clippings and and filing of the nails, it could not help the disinfectant reach where it should on the table or so forth. So clean that heavy soil load first with a paper towel, and then spray with the RTU, and that surface would, or use the wipe, and you leave that surface wet for 3 minutes, and then it's ready to, if it doesn't evaporate in 3 minutes, take a brand new clean paper towel and wipe it dry, and you have it ready for your next customer. Would Lysol wipes do the same? So Lysol wipes, you have to be careful. I think during the pandemic, they stepped up their game as well. But if you look at a bottle, it says the first thing that it says in bold. If the Lysol wipe does not have the capability of doing both, like RTU, then it says on a pre-cleaned surface, you can use the Lysol. So that means you have to have a detergent or something to clean first and then use your Lysol wipe. But RTU does it all at all at once. Okay, so that's the benefit of RTU. Also, Lysol wipes are 10 minutes. You have to leave the area wet for 10 minutes. As well, if you even if you're using like alcohol, an alcohol base. So that means you have your it's a lot more time. And sometimes it evaporates faster. So you have to go back and check, is it staying wet? So those are the things you have to take into consideration. So always read the label properly, even with your Lysol wipes, to make sure of that. Otherwise, RTU is the way to go. Is RT so RTU is the best for all surface types? Yes. Now, for example, if you're going to start using it like on sofas, like in the waiting room that are a little bit more porous, like a leather material, we always suggest dry rinse afterwards to remove any of that rest. Not dry rinse, like a not almost like a dry rinse. So after you've done your RTU and the surface might still be still wet for 3 minutes, after the 3 minutes, take a cloth, a brand new cloth, a little bit damp with water, and rinse that area off and then dry it. Because if it stays wet longer on material, it could, like leather, it can wear and tear it sooner. So just do that rinse afterwards. Okay. But all the surfaces, all your manicure tables, all your non-porous chairs, if there's no material on them, your metals, your spa beds, your sinks, and so forth. Like all that, your porcelain, your foot baths, all that can be used with RTU. So your light switches, your doorknobs, all that is RTU. Okay. So and also your non circulating foot baths. As it says here, it says foot baths, you're able to use the RTU for non-circulating. If your foot bath has the piping and it's has the plumbing system to circulate the water, then you have to use our concentrate because it has to go into those pipes and break down and that biofilm too that can build up. Okay. But otherwise, if you have a stainless steel bowl, a porcelain bowl, ceramic, sorry, bowl, you just take or the jetted foot baths that have just the magnetic jets and they're not circulating, RTU. Okay. Okay, so let's look at what other thing they had to correct. Okay, so there we go. There's your RTU. So this is what you're going to use for your surfaces and your all your surfaces and your non-circulating foot baths. And it comes in two formats: liquid and wipes. Wipes are much easier to clean, like smaller areas. Like I clean the doorknobs, light switches, certain tables. But as soon as my canvas gets big, like the area needs to be big, the sprayer is also cost effective. Okay. Um, So let's see what's next. And there's your concentrate. So if you're using a circulating foot bath, then you must use this one at a 1 to 40 ratio. Now, all of this stuff, if you visit, and I'll show you at the end, our website, you can download all these either protocols or how to use the product and so forth that will help you. And it's really good to actually have it in a little booklet and have it by your sink area. So when health inspectors come, they see you're utilizing something and you have the instructions, because health inspectors do not know all the products out there. They just refer you to alcohol and bleach, the most generic thing. So they don't know how a preempt has to be utilized. So you having that knowledge and having it there for them to see that you're following something is great. Okay, like a little protocol ring that you can have. Okay, what other infraction? Single-use items. So they were making a mistake with not tossing away single-use items. They're called single-use for a reason. And as you get health inspectors visiting you, the more and more they want you to use single-use, which is devastating to the impact of the environment. So it's like we have to figure out that balance. It's really, really tough. But they want you to toss away everything, like even brushes that you use for tinting and so forth. And it becomes a lot of waste, right? So, but when things are porous, like nail files, like buffers, the pumice stones, like stuff like that, you have to not be cheap and toss them away, because I've seen salons that will reuse the same thing when they're done with me to go use it on somebody else. Also, if they create the little personal bag for you and put it in there, bacteria still gets formed in that. It's a porous item. It's going to get into there. So when they go and they use it to you after 3 weeks when you come back, it's not going to be great for yourself either, even if it was your own tools. So it's very important that either you as a salon have to implement a fee. So every time you have to use a new pumice stone or a new foot file or a new nail file, unless you have stainless steel ones, which can be cost effective, then you can charge a little bit extra for your customer, implement into your new service fee to cover the cost of these, and let your customer know why your prices increased. Okay. But don't play around with single-use items. I've heard many times on the news of how people got really infected, and in Texas, somebody actually lost their life because they had an uncompromised immune system, and they were paraplegic, and they had a pedicure, and they cut them with a pumice stone, and because the pumice stone was used by other people, her infection got really bad, and she got a bacteria, and she had a cardiac arrest. She was really young, and she passed away. Right? So I just bought files that say reusable on the package. Are they hard plastic? Do they have removable grits? Let me know, because if the grits are not removable, that's porous. So I wouldn't. Now we have stainless steel. There's such thing called a stainless steel files. Even your wooden foot files, they really cannot be disinfected. But there's stainless steel files like the Goonie where you replace the grits. Okay. Which got my attention because the material is a disposable material. Yeah, Zulika, I would check on that. If afterwards I have an email, if you want to send me a picture, I can look at it. But anything that looks porous and looks to you that's disposable, even though it says it's reusable, is that what you said? It's reusable. Will that disinfect? If it's porous, the disinfectant won't be able to do anything. It has to be hard plastic or hard metal. So, yeah, I can, after when you see my email, send it to me and I can look at it and see. Okay. Okay. Oh, wait. So this was just items. See, a list of items like abrasive pads for removing calluses, buffing blocks. I've seen them reuse buffing blocks so many times, and files and so forth. Okay. All of this stuff. And there's more, but I couldn't fit it all, but you get the gist. Okay. So reinforce infection prevention protocols. This is something as you as a salon owner have to do. So this salon was probably not doing this because they weren't keeping their staff aligned. So these meetings are important to keep your staff in the know. So, hey, have a staff meeting. Did you hear what happened to this salon? Well, let's not let this happen to us. What do we have to do? Da, 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 da. Well, what do we have to have in place? Have a binder with all the protocols in them, with checklists, right? When was the solution last changed? When was it tested with our test strips? So important to train your staff with this. Okay, so we have to always make sure that we or your staff you and your staff do not let your guard down, but instead you're always following the best practices of infection prevention. That's the best thing you can do for yourself as a business to elevate yourself and also to protect your everyone. But your clients are important because they're getting the services done. Okay. Daily inspections to ensure measures are being carried out. Maybe you want to have somebody in the salon that's going to be that inspection. That's going to be the manager of inspecting to make sure that the binder is complete, that that meetings are set every once a month, and going through the protocols. That they walk and they see, are they cleaning? Like they go and they check the esthetician, is she cleaning and disinfecting properly? Is their station proper? Stuff like that. So you have an infection control specialist assigned that does this, right? So that they can do their daily inspections. So monitor standards of best practices in infection prevention with your team in order to prevent incidents of infection. So if it's something that you can't do as a salon owner, then the best thing would be to have somebody in place to do that, whether it's a receptionist or so forth. This is very important. Use only Health Canada compliant disinfectants and sterilants. So the very important thing to know that if you look at your disinfectants and you look at the label, if there's a DIN number on an intermediate level disinfectant, perfect. That's a drug identification number. And that means that it's gone through a third party, tested, and what that intermediate level disinfectant does, what it kills, it's true, and it's gotten stamped by Health Canada. Same thing with your high level disinfectants and your sterilants, although they changed it from a DIN number in 2018, I believe. From a DIN number, they changed it to a medical device licensing number. So on our products, you can see that. If you use a high level disinfectant or a sterilant that does not have an MDL number, it's not claiming to do what it claims to do because it hasn't been tested. So it's a lot of money, and that's why a lot of disinfectants might not have this. But Virox, the manufacturer per preamp, needs to be up there. So they've spent that money to get that with their products. So check the labels, and you'll see that. Who has the mandate to come and do inspections in Quebec? Sophie, in Quebec, they don't really monitor. So I believe you don't get inspected. But I have to say that Quebec is the one province that, even though they're not inspected, they love to follow our protocols that we give out to them. They're very good and adamant at practicing best practices. So for that, until they put health inspectors in place, it's information that we can provide for you that can help you teach it as well to salons and spas, and provide the paperwork and so forth, like checklists and so forth, to keep them in line until they can get somebody. Please, any class after 5 p.m. We appreciate. Nini, please, any class after 5 p.m. What do you mean by class, Nini? Sorry, I'm not understanding your question. Let me know. You're talking about this webinar. Let me know. But also, Sophie, does that make sense, Sophie? Because Quebec is different. Like they don't have like Ontario, like we have here, inspectors coming in and visit. So it's in place as you, as a distributor, or as an educator, to share that and help out and keep Quebec controlled with best practices. Hopefully that helps. But you can always do some online courses just to see what is the best practices, like we have ours, that can help you as well. Okay. Ensure disinfectants and sterilants are stable. This is very important by doing the monitoring. And that's why it's very important to also have somebody in place, like an infection control specialist, that's going to go around and check this. So this is done by monitoring the expiring dates on the disinfectants labels. An efficacy and stability sheet will be of help when consulting your stock. So we have this sheet. I believe I put it in the thank you email. If I didn't, you can reach out to me. But it just lets you know the stability and the efficacy, like when the products do expire and so forth, knowing how to read that on your label. But also not just the product itself expiring if you had leftover, like if you didn't use it all up, but also the products in the solution that's reusable in your container, in your soaker. You need to monitor that as well and have a chart to see when it was put in, when was the inspection done in 7 days. If it's 14 days reusable, at the 7-day mark, inspection needs to be done. to make sure that that solution is still able to go, because that's how you're going to tell if your salon employees, they were not practicing proper protocols, and they were diluting the disinfectant. Okay. And we have charts for this too. I believe I put them in the thank you email as well. If not, we will. I will help you with that. But this is what it is: tool slash equipment disinfection slash sterilant. So you have your tool or equipment that you're using, either a disinfectant or a sterilant. You have these record sheets, and they'll say HLD5, CS20. Okay. So reusable disinfectant sterilants must be tested daily to confirm its minimum effective concentration. So daily is the best thing to do, but you need test strips. Daily is the best practices, but even that seventh day, which, because it's half of the 14-day reusable, to check it is good. But daily also ensures that you're keeping that solution fresh, and nobody has that little gateway to slack, right? So that's why. Are these documents? Yes, they are in French. You should have them in French as well. I think I put both French and English, Sophie. If not, once again, I will help you. But they're available both in French and English. Yes. Okay, and there's your record sheets. Record sheets can help you to meet this requirement. Always follow the disinfectant and test strip manufacturer's instructions. Use one log sheet for each reuse period. So the reuse period is 14 days. That log sheet, after you're done the 14 days and you pour a new one, take it away, store it, and start with a new one. Okay. So you have many responsibilities as a salon professional, but none is more important than protecting your client's health and safety. So that's a statement that maybe you want to put up, or a mantra or something that you share with your team, so they understand this, that it's very, very important. Okay. So that, oh, and before we end the webinar, or we have a little Q&A period if you want to ask more questions, we do have our free online infection control course. So head over to our infectioncontroleducation.com website. You can register for it. The fundamentals to infection control, that's what it's called. It's very deep. So take your time. You don't have to finish it all at once. It records your progress. You do need to have an 80% passing mark on each of the quizzes that it gives. So take your time, because the information is, in light of the pandemic and so forth, the information is good for you, because just because the pandemic has slowed down, you know what I mean? Like, we're still going to deal with viruses. People are sick right now with either COVID, the respiratory one, or the flu, or just a common cold. We're still going to deal with these. So we can't slack. The seriousness that we took and all those steps that we amped up during the pandemic, we still should be doing them. So this online course can help you. There's also a PK portion to help you know all about the pre-em products and how to use them. And then after you've passed the fundamentals, it opens up the gateway for modules, for little mini modules according to your expertise. Are you a nail tech? Are you a hairstylist, and so forth? And you can go do these little modules. And once again, those are free, and you get a certificate for each module that you complete, but you also get a certificate for the fundamental, which is great to show your clients to see that as well. Okay. So stalk us. We love the good type of stalking, the social media stalking. So Instagram, preempt disinfectants and CBO and infection control. And then we have Facebook, preempt disinfectants as well, CBO and infection control. The website, preempt disinfectants, and then infectioncontroleducation.com. And the email. So if there was anything I mentioned here that you didn't get a file or so forth, or any clarification that you needed, it's education@cbngroup.com. Okay, so do we have any questions I can go through? Any clarifications that I can ask? How do I get a license for in-home services? So Zulika, are you actually looking at being licensed as an esthetician for insurance? Or do you just want to, the course that you do online gives you a certificate to let your customers know that you understand and are implementing the best practices of infection control for them, and you have that certificate. So otherwise, I'm not quite sure what you mean by license. There's no such thing, I guess you could say, as license. It's these courses that you do, and you get a certificate. Uh, licensing as an esthetician, that's a different story. So let me know what it is. Can you go back to the social media screen? Yes, I can. For sure I can. I'll leave it there. Yeah. Yeah, Zulika. If you want to, if you feel like you need to understand a little bit more, you could always email me and we can always have a phone chat. But the certificate will help you. You put it up. If your home business, even put it up. Your clients that come in will know that your home setting is an environment safe for them to come in. Okay. But yeah, we're gonna try. Yes, that is what I mean. Thanks. Okay, perfect, perfect. I'm like, I don't know if I answered her question, but we're gonna try and implement a lot more, of these webinars, whether it's with the preamp product, whether it's what's happened in the news to keep us uh, uh, in the know. And also, we have a newsletter. If you haven't been getting a preamp newsletter at all, you can email me and let me know, Chrissy, I would like to be implemented into this newsletter, and then we can add your name to it. We have to always get your agreement. So if that's the case, you can always email me. Okay, you're welcome, Zalika. Thank you for taking the time to answer questions. You're very welcome, Sophie. On that note, it was just a brief little 30-minute presentation. I hope it helped you. You will get a recording as well at the end, so you can go over it and look at the files again, look at the slides again. And if you can't remember any question right now and you have one that pops up after we end this, you have that email, education@CBN Group. So I appreciate everybody's attendance today, and have yourself a wonderful afternoon and all the best. And stay warm. It's a little cold. Okay. Thank you.